What is going on, Wolfpack Nation? Welcome to a Tuffy Talk live show, baby. Thank y'all so much for joining us. We appreciate y'all joining in here as we get. We got an exciting show with us here today. We got myself, Lane Smith, here with Michael Tracy. Macon As will be joining us here shortly. Greg the Leg is over in Germany right now, so couldn't talk to Greg overseas right now. And if you've been with us before, you know the drill. But if you haven't, make sure again send us your comments, send us your thoughts. Send us your questions in the chat. We will get to all of them here today, guaranteed. And also, too, just if you just want to let us know who's here, and also, too, let us know that, hey, if you do want to leave the ACC, where do you want to go? Because we're going to be talking that today for sure. So, kind of jumping right to it. So, Michael, first of all, man, are you doing all right? Even though, we're 0-7 against UNC in baseball the last 2 years, man. I don't know, man. It kind of stings, to say the least, a little bit.
No, that was tough, especially after the way game one went.
Yeah.
5-0 lead in the first inning.
Yeah.
And it definitely looked like that. The way the game unfolded and the way it ended with the sacrifice bunt.
Yep.
It just
fundamental plays, man. Fundamental plays.
Yeah. And it just seems like that. It literally just broke the team for the whole weekend, which is tough because, that was the first game. Yeah, you had a 5-0 lead, but, there were still 2 more games to take advantage of and win the series. But it didn't go any better after that. So,
no, and we'll obviously I think we'll go ahead and just kind of get this negative out of the way for sure. Definitely disappointing after a tough week the previous week. With all barely squeaking by with North Carolina A&T, and then I think you went into this weekend basically hoping for at least a series win, and you came out of that, I think, worst case scenario. And I know we've talked to Justin and some other people as well, and I mean, it's just, to me, it's just alarming. I know Greg said last week that for all the people talking about Ava's future with the program, that it would have to take a crazy nosedive for us to even consider that, me against NC State or Boo. And have we kind of had a huge breakdown this season? I mean, to me it's like again, two numbers stand out to me. First thing is that now, again, over the last 2 years, you're 0-7 against UNC. And on top of that, too, it still glares you in the eyes that, unfortunately, Avent has been to 7 ACC championship games and hasn't won any of them. And I know that everybody's talking about it. And I agree. Again, I was there in Omaha when we should have won the College World Series. Everybody said State was going to win the College World Series that year. But the problem is that ever since then, it's just been a huge decline. And the problem is that the problem though is that if you're fans, you're saying, okay, well, what didn't go right this year that next year Avent will have? Again, because there wasn't really injury issues for the most part, besides Noah Souls. But Noah Souls, I don't think was really a huge loss in terms of, like, without Noah Souls, we're just not productive. Right. But also too, and then talent-wise, I mean, you have the talent. I mean, there's been multiple people who have said, even Kenny Rogers, I think that's his name with D1 Baseball, has said, and everybody said, we have a super talented team, but just the problem is a couple things. First of all, just relief pitching has been tough. And on top of that, too, we just have not been able to establish a batting lineup, which makes it almost impossible for batters to get into any kind of rhythm, because they're just trying to, they don't even know going into a weekend or into a game if they're even going to be hitting,
Yeah, I definitely think some consistency would help. It just wasn't, the roster didn't, there's a lot of outfielders on the team. There's too many outfielders all to get playing time.
Yeah.
And
absolutely,
in the middle infield where Peyton Green had struggled, the only option they had really was to flip him and Harrison at second and shortstop. Mm-hmm. And they both stayed in the lineup because there really wasn't a good option to replace either of them with. And I don't know, it's just tough. I don't think, when we're talking Avent big picture, I'm not making any decisions off of this year and last year, because I mean, last year, you didn't make the tournament, but it was a pretty much generally agreed by almost all the media that it was a huge snub, and that we were even in the ACC championship game that year. and the year before that we did end up in Omaha. So, I mean, I don't know. I don't think you can make any big decisions based on the last 2 years. I mean, he definitely I was talking to somebody else, and it's like there's definitely a conversation to be had between Boo and Avent this year, this offseason. But I don't think it's any type of, hot seat conversation.
Well, it's definitely things need to change conversation at the very least. I think it's, and again, we're always one to never really want, somebody's career to be on the line or whatever it is. But let's just be realistic here that Sam Highfield, ever since, the Omaha, sensation that he was, just hasn't panned out. I know that last year obviously was due to injury, but then this year it's just, I don't know. He just never really found his groove. He just never really stood out. I would say Dom Fritton honestly stood out definitely more this season than Sam Highfield did. So, but
I think Sam was still, I think Sam was still recovering from injury at the beginning of the season too. So it's not like he came in 100% healthy.
True.
But I think it's what do we need? The conversation is like, what do we need to do to, get back to that level where we're competing for Omaha again? I don't think it's, you got to win next year or you're fired kind of conversation.
Yeah, no. And again, just unfortunately for Avent too, is just that, obviously over the last year with the Doak renovations coming through and a pile of money getting invested into the program, it's like, okay, we need to be working uphill with this renovations. We can't be working downhill as we're investing, 6-7 figures into this baseball field. So just more pressure this year than normal, just because now you're saying, hey, you have 3 or 4 Pac pros in the MLB. You have a stadium that's getting renovated to, finally a middle to top end tier baseball stadium. So you finally have the recruiting tools that you need to even build off of what you already had. But like in previous years, a lot of people would say, well, he's recruiting, these top tier talents with, low, mid to lower tier, facilities. And so now it's like, well, now you got the hype. Now you got the facilities that's coming with it, and now you got the resume with the Pac pros as well. So, Macon, sorry, man, I know we got you in here finally, man, but Michael and I we're rolling, man. But get in here, man. What's your thoughts on state baseball, man?
I didn't get to watch really any of the games this weekend. I watched the end of game 1.
Didn't we all?
But that was live. I watched that part of it. Turned on to see what's going on.
Yeah.
And I didn't have the context to it when I saw really didn't realize we were up by 8-4 at one point and blew it. I think I'm not going to go rehash everything you guys talked about. I think in short, my thought is there's probably not a lot of coaches who have gone to 2 College World Series in 10 years or, in that time. So to Michael's point that I didn't really think about last year was a snub for the NCAA tournament, AC championship game, like those kind of things. When you put it in perspective, it makes me feel much, better about Avent, to be honest with you, that he's here to stay. In my opinion, I think it's much less likely there's a conversation that he's got to go than there is about, hey, what needs to change in the offseason, which I think you're much more likely to see Chrysler go. And I think some other guys. As a guy, is Brett Austin on the team? I don't know what his role is. But I don't think he's kind of guy. Maybe, but I mean, I think it's more his lead assistants. And we'll see.
There'll be some coaching changes. Yeah,
there's a philosophy there going on that doesn't seem to be working out right now, and or an approach to the coaching that doesn't seem working, and that's kind of my thoughts on it. I'll kind of leave it at that. I think Avent's going to get another year, and they still have a chance to be in the ACC tournament, right? It's not like they're not in it. It's just
it would.
They're not living up to maybe some expectations, but I don't think they had College World Series expectations. Maybe goals, but not as expectations. So,
sure,
are they really missing the bar?
But it's just
maybe a little bit, but.
But again, I would just say that my issue is first of all, because one thing we haven't even mentioned either is that our scoring with runners in scoring position has been just terrible this year. I know UNC on Thursday we went 1 for 4, if I'm not mistaken, with men on second and third. If I'm not mistaken, like it was just we just could not get them in, and that's been pretty much the whole season. Again, just consistency. So that's what I'm saying is that between consistency, relief pitching, not being able to establish a starting, batting order, runners in scoring position, the development of guys like Sam Highfield, things like that. It's just like, okay, I understand that an off year for sure, but it's just like, okay, so now if you're a State fan, what are you going to tell the State fans or the Wolfpack Club people that are investing money to say next year will be better because of this? Because you're losing Sam Highfield, you might be losing Groover, and I wouldn't be surprised if Fritton. I think Fritton might be getting some calls in the NIL. I mean, let's just be real right now. I mean, this guy's a freshman. He had an amazing first year, so he's going to get some calls from some SEC schools.
Sure,
it's going to happen. So, and if you lose him, what are you going to do? So it's tough, but I agree. At the end of the day, I mean, Avon's got 2 years left on his contract. He goes through 2025. His buyout, if we bought him out right now, would be $800K. So nothing, crazy, in terms of buyouts.
Okay. I didn't realize that. Yeah, I mean,
$800K. So,
and through 2025, yeah, okay,
yeah. So it's. I definitely do agree. It's tough because also too, again, this guy is a legend. There's no doubt about it. Even though, I mean, I'm obviously not thrilled with what's going on State baseball right now. I can't do anything but not show the absolute most respect for Avon in the world.
Yeah, I think he's built up enough goodwill that he can withstand a down year or two.
Agreed. Yeah, just need that bounce back. Back.
Right. It can't be that 2 years can't turn into 3 years, turn into 4 years, right?
Well, and specifically too this weekend. I mean, I think you're. I was looking at the stats earlier. I think you're 23-7 at home. And I know, Michael, you were putting out some tweets about how State, I think, just needs to win the series to feel good about making the tournament. But if they sweep, then they're pretty much guaranteed in.
Yeah, let me pull it up so I'm not.
Yeah, you had it out at a tweet earlier, but meaning, so I mean, the opportunity is right there. There's no reason why you shouldn't blow this weekend. With it being senior night, weekend, whatever you want to call it. A Pitt team that's towards the bottom of the ACC, so it's not like you're going against Wake Forest this weekend. And again, it's just like the opportunity is there. We need to step up to the plate. There needs to be some form of positive momentum to wrap up the season. I know that. More than likely we're way behind the 8 ball in terms of making the NCAA tournament at large bid, but it's like, okay, just like I was saying earlier, give the fans a reason to be hopeful about next season, So, but yeah, Michael, go ahead.
Yeah. So State's in a pretty good spot for making the ACC tournament. Okay. If they win the series, if they win 2 games against Pitt, they're in. If they only win 1, Louisville would have to sweep Florida State. And then they would jump over us.
Which is possible.
Yeah, because FSU is terrible.
Yeah.
If State, I don't even want to imagine this scenario, but if State gets swept by Pitt, then Louisville would only need to win 2 against Florida State, and they would jump over us. So we're like a game and a half ahead of Louisville right now, and we have the tiebreaker over them because we won the series. So basically, they need to win 2 more games than we do this weekend to get in over us.
So to me, the I guess the phrase for this weekend just needs to be stop the bleeding. 2 weeks, last 2 weeks ago was kind of rough. This weekend was definitely rough. So it's like we got to stop it. We got to get back up, get that positive momentum back rolling, which 100% can't happen. Again, everybody said across the board, this team is super talented. They can make a run. You just gotta get their stuff together. So I want to get some comments here. Definitely Michelle's saying last Thursday's game was brutal. Absolutely. And Rusty, hopefully we finally, again, definitely in terms of why does it seem like Pac-9 seems to have lost discipline over the last 2 years? I would say injuries have definitely hurt, but also too, I would say that 2 years ago, it was a room full of leaders. I mean, Terrell Tatum, Johnny Butler, Evan Justice, Chris Villamy.
It was also a lot older too. All those guys you mentioned were juniors and seniors.
Yep, old, a bunch of leaders, a bunch of really great players. I just think right now we have a lot of younger guys, and also too a lot of transfers too. Let's be honest too. That's one thing which I think definitely hurts is having transfers, just because now you're asking these transfers to be leaders, but they just got here. So
yeah,
it's tough.
Yep. That's a good point. because you've got seniors and graduates, Candelaria and Parker Nolan. They're both graduates, but they're transfers from Davidson, so they don't have that. Like you said, you're asking them to be leaders of people that they're just coming into a new team and trying to figure it out with. So yeah, I think that definitely has something to do with it.
But hey, you are 100% right. Imagine how UNC feels losing NC 10 years in a row. I do love that. I always love to hang my hat on that. So hats off to you, Pop, on keeping that thing rolling. I had
a random question. The last couple weekend series have been Thursday, Friday, Saturday instead of Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Anybody know why they do that?
No.
Your guess is as good as mine. I would say maybe TV related.
Maybe
that's the only thing I can really think of. So
no, I don't know.
Shot I got. Yeah, that's the best shot. All right. So, and don't worry, Carson, we're going to be jumping on over to some conference realignment talks right here.
Ooh.
Yeah, fun. So, all right, y'all. So we're going to jump on over to some Tuffy's tweets of the week to get this conversation rolling. Here we go. All right, man. Macon's got all kinds of sound effects tonight. So this these tweets, and again, I mean, there's a bunch of different tweets which could kind of be built off of this one, but I thought this was the most interesting one. Basically saying, breaking news: AC has 7 schools ready, which has been quoted as the miraculous 7 schools ready to exit and needing an 8th to end it. I've just been told the Big 12 and the URMAC are, quote unquote, well aware of the situation and are acting accordingly, but this may well limit the number of schools to just 2 they'll poach from the Pac-12.
So hold on 1 second. So this is saying 2 things. It's saying that 8 teams want to leave the ACC and the ACC is going to try to get 2 from the Big 12?
So it's saying that right now it's 7, the miraculous 7. And then
magnificent.
Sorry, magnificent 7. Sorry about that. And then 8, and then they need an 8th one in order to make it happen. Because now,
I wonder why it's 8.
Probably because the majority.
Yeah, majority.
14.
So you know the one team that stands. That second tweet there is always interesting. Also, I got to read that part of it.
Yeah, this guy, I don't know if he's the best guy.
I don't know. Yeah,
Greg Swam or whatever. But the 7 that have been mentioned from the Sports Illustrated article and Brett McMurphy are Clemson, FSU, Miami, UNC, NC State, UVA, and Virginia Tech. He's got Louisville and Pitt in here. I didn't
which
hear
weren't
that
mentioned before. So I got another one. I just saw this tweet from an hour ago. I just sent it to you guys. Another Brett McMurphy tweet.
Yeah,
he's an hour ago. He said ACC athletic directors emerged from a 4-hour meeting with Commish Jim Phillips just now, against an hour ago, in Amelia Island, which I don't know where that is, and said they're not allowed to talk to the media today.
Yeah. Well,
go ahead, Michael.
They're having their like annual meeting, athletic director meeting. So it's not like Jim Phillips called a special meeting. I don't want to get that confused too. But
I think it's interesting that they're saying they're not allowed to talk to media.
Well, and also on top of it, I mean, for as long and as much as Brett McMurphy has covered college football, for him to point out that it was a 4-hour long meeting, if that was typically how long a normal meeting takes, then he wouldn't have even tweeted that. But basically, for his whole tweet to be around that it was a 4-hour meeting, obviously that's not normal. So it's very interesting to say the least. And Carson's comment here is saying, with regards to conference realignment, I think the SEC gets NC State, Clemson, Florida State, and VT, and then the Big Ten gets UNC, UVA, Miami, and Georgia Tech. But first thing I want to say is, it's hilarious that literally I feel like this is the 3rd year in a row around this time that the conference realignment, rumors go.
It's the off season, so the athletic directors have more time to talk about
this stuff. And I think it's literally just, when can the lawyers break through the grant of rights contract? Every single year.
It's not a matter of if, but when, right? I think.
Right. Oh yeah.
I think the ACC, you know it, guys, there is a light in a tunnel. There is an end in sight kind of thing. And
And
the team that caught my attention, or maybe the two that I think about it, were that I didn't see in Brett McMurphy's tweet were Louisville and Pitt. I feel like those are big enough brands that would be kind of interesting. Particularly Louisville recently with the whole Lamar Jackson and the Heisman thing. I just think that's really interesting that they weren't mentioned. And so keep going there.
But I know, and again, I don't necessarily have all the details behind this, but I know that the Louisville athletic program for a while was struggling financially, but again, don't necessarily have all the details about that because that was a couple of years ago that was happening, but maybe that's part of it. I'm not really sure exactly. Go ahead.
Let me add this tweet here. So not about money, but so people have been saying, I saw a tweet from a Reddit college football Twitter account saying, State doesn't really seem they're specifically about NC State. NC State does not seem like a fit for the SEC or the Big Ten. So we're going to kick off the NC State to Pac-12 rumor or whatever it is. And so people have said that, State's not that great of a brand. I can get that when you compare it to Clemson and Florida State and Miami and even UNC, to be honest with you, generally speaking, from a branding standpoint. Beyond that, I think State's pretty good brand.
Yeah.
But I will say, to kind of a pause, I think State has going in their favor. I saw another Twitter account, NC State Twitter account called Pack Chat, Pack Chat 1887. It put a little chart here. Said it has a chart that's talking about the Big Four average ACC win percentage over 5 years, which would be the Big Four being men's basketball, football, women's basketball, and baseball. And their tweet here was, in the Big Four, again, those four sports, revenue sports, NC State has led the ACC in average conference win percentage, which is about 61% for the last 5 years. They don't have data for the 2022-2023 season yet, but it may, they finish up that tweet with, NCSU may not historically be one of the biggest ACC brands, but its more recent success speaks for itself. And that was a pretty good tweet, that they have that to sell. We're the teams that are winning the most. If you look at a pro athletic department, we're winning the most. So, but I realize that's not necessarily equate to money. It's just a matter of wins.
Well, but I also would say that in terms of momentum from a football program perspective, that State has got to be one of the highest, positive momentum teams right now in the ACC. There's a crazy amount of juice all around it for sure. But also I would even say too that, again, with men's basketball, you have the interest about the tradition of NC State men's basketball, and then women's basketball, I would say, SEC. I mean, look at LSU just won the national championship. You have South Carolina. You add in NC State women's basketball, that's very enticing. And on top of it too, I mean, all of our other revenue teams, whether it's baseball, whether it's softball, whether it's gymnastics, wrestling. Wrestling would be very interesting for sure. So, I mean, again, to me, I just feel like that from a what NC State can offer overall perspective, even just outside of football, I think there's I think there's a great package there to be offered. But again,
so
it's all speculation. Go ahead.
Yeah, let me ask you this question. So I'm just curious, which conference do you think State is a better fit for if they were to move? Because, I mean, to me, it's SEC.
Yeah, it's a no-brainer.
Because I don't understand that whole tweet about, State doesn't feel, from Reddit, college football, like State doesn't seem like a fit for either. And I'm like, I can kind of get the Big Ten. I do not see the SEC not being a fit, but that's just me. So
yeah.
I see like UNC as a Big Ten school. Mm-hmm. I see Clemson and Florida State and NC State as your SECs. I could see Pitt being like a big Miami even being a Big Ten kind of thing.
Well, it's interesting too because since ACC is made up of so many private schools, such as the Miami, Duke, Wake Forest, that's definitely going to put a wrench in everything just because they are privately owned. So it's interesting. Like it's hilarious how literally 2 years ago it went to it basically was at the time that the announcement that Oklahoma and Texas were going to SEC, and then basically it was a scramble fest of like, okay, who can everybody else add to make us better? And it was West Virginia, like, Notre Dame, and we need to get Notre Dame. And now it's like, okay, now the ACC is basically just going to split and go join, another conference, which is bizarre to say the least. But so Nick asked the question, are you surprised Wake and Duke were not part of the Magnificent Seven schools? And I think that goes right back to what I was saying, maybe about the private and the alumni probably side of it, maybe. But
maybe Duke more than Wake just from a basketball standpoint, but football is where the money's at, and they're not really doing that. So
no, I'm not surprised at all. I mean, private schools are never, because it's all about brand and eyeballs, and private schools have smaller alumni bases, smaller enrollment.
Boston College, right? Yeah. I think the two public ones, Syracuse and Georgia Tech. Georgia Tech's not private. So probably those two are the ones that are kind of left out hanging there.
Yep. But Michelle makes a funny comment here saying, please not Big Ten, because I cannot tolerate more time dealing with Nebraska fans. And hey, I will say, I feel like Nebraska fans is like state fans, but I would even argue even worse, man. Like, dude, they are drooling at the mouth and they have been for decades to finally be relevant again in football. They have been trying to be relevant. So, I will, attest to that when I visited Omaha for the College World Series, that talking to some of the Nebraska fans, that it was like, I feel you. Hey, like, look, state fans, we're waiting for over 30 years to win a, conference or national championship. And then you guys, who used to be a blue blood in college football has been on the peak of non-existent over the last, 20 years or so. It's interesting. So, but I mean, definitely the interest of playing like guys like Michigan State, Ohio State is like, man, that's pretty cool. But so yeah.
But the Big Ten isn't really a fit for us, because unless the Big Ten, which they may, because who knows what's going to happen. But the Big Ten has always had the rule that you have to be an AAU member school, which is some academic standard that state doesn't meet.
But hey, Chuck Coates would love going to the Big Ten, though, to go against Michigan, Ohio State, and some of the wrestling blue bloods in the Big Ten. So, I mean, hey, Pat Popoliso would love that. Wouldn't have an issue with that whatsoever. But do you guys actually think, and I want to hear you guys' thoughts in the comments as well, do you think there's a world where State and UNC go to different conferences?
Yeah. Different conferences. Yes, I do. Absolutely. Yeah, but I think it's interesting that I can't remember who it was. I saw a tweet maybe it's about a year ago. They're saying that neither school would be left out if a move happened.
Yeah.
So it's like, if they're moving, they're both moving.
Right.
Now, I don't know if that means necessarily to the same conference.
Conference. Yeah. No,
probably that's probably favored, right? It probably it's preference, but yeah.
I think very, very easily you could see, like, if it ended up with UNC in the Big Ten, and NC State in the SEC, that would not surprise me at all. But it would surprise me if UNC goes to the Big Ten and State's left in the ACC.
Yeah. Now, the one thing which I do want to remind everybody too is that if there are any moves, very much more than likely, I would say 90, 95 at least % chance likely that if something does happen, it won't go into effect necessarily this year. So it's not like we're planning for ACC schedule and then it's like, nope, we're going to Big Ten, we're switching over. It's like, no, like, it'll take a couple of years for it to go into place. So
there's just too much time left on the grant of rights contract, because
it's going to take a little bit.
14 years, so that number has to come down so that schools can afford the buyouts.
Yeah, but it is very interesting because obviously we got to be getting close to that point where it happens, because definitely the conversations have intensified over the last 3 years for sure. So it'll be interesting.
Yeah.
But
how much longer do you think it's going to be, guys? I'm curious. How much, just a guess?
I say within the next 2 or 3 years at the most, you'll hear something that's going to change. I usually say that.
I also think that there's a chance that this could all be.
It could be fluff.
Smokescreen to get more money.
Yeah, like to have the ESPN
why not?
The deal,
right? You get more leverage in that regard, right? The schools have leverage right now.
That's true.
Yeah. So,
but I just say that with the changing of NIL, I think that
Well, I will say this.
Go ahead.
You don't know. I interrupted you late in part. You go ahead. I'm sorry. I interrupted you.
Well, no, I was just going to say with brands like Florida State, Miami, that if they can come back, then it's only a matter of time before they say, I don't care what it takes. I need to go get more money. Something like that.
My argument, what I was about, what you're saying, Michael, though, is maybe it's to get smokescreen stuff to stay. There's schools there's schools in this conference that are wanting to leave because if you look at the profitability of the other conferences, like there's schools that are leaving no matter what happens at this point because the money, the profit that year over year that other schools in the Big Ten, the SEC are making compared to the ACC is going to it'll hurt like Clemson and Florida States and NC States and all that of the world. So I don't know if as much smokescreen as this is legit. We're out of here.
Yeah, because I think that's probably the first option because, like I said, the schools right now, schools can't afford to pay that buyout, no matter how far behind they'll be the Big Ten and SEC. It's like hundreds of millions of dollars to pay their way out of the grant rights.
So then let's ask you this question: what if, let's say hypothetically, State doesn't make it to the Big Ten or SEC, which I don't think that happens. In that scenario, if something were to split like that. What do you think is the best case scenario for State then?
If you don't make the Big Ten or
SEC,
I mean, you can't go to the Pac-12.
Right.
Do that.
What about the Big 12? They're kind of struggling.
The Big 12,
I almost wondered if the ACC starts bringing in other schools. Like, say you go to the Big 12 and get Oklahoma State, something like that, or those schools up there in the Pac-12 in the Seattle area. So that is a TV market. That is something they might could go after, but it would be weird from an ACC standpoint.
I mean, it's not going to be geographic anymore at that point. It's just like whoever's going to bring in the most money, whether that's East Coast or West Coast or in the middle.
Yeah, I just don't. I don't know what the best case is. I think it might be for NC State to stay put in the ACC, but that's assuming that the ACC would then go and add in more schools.
Yeah, the ACC would have to.
It would have to be from the Big 12 or Pac-12. It would have to be. I mean, unless you go and get. Unless you ask something like ECU, which I think would be terrible, but
so, look at this comment. Imagine it gets to the point where the ACC has to invite
exactly. I didn't even see his comment when I said that. Exactly.
Yeah. Which I don't know if I could take having to play ECU in football every single year.
No. But I mean, think about it. Like maybe terrible. You go get like a school like Memphis, or do you go to get a school like I don't even know. I mean, West Virginia would make some sense geographically, but like. I think if your State, your priority number one is to get out of the ACC.
Well, and let's wrap it up by saying this. Every scenario right now is bonkers to think about. Like, I can't even imagine, like.
But it's going to happen. The thing is, it's going to happen. It's just a matter of when. Like,
especially because, again, we were such a huge foot in the birth of the ACC, I mean, we were such a big part of that. So it's just crazy for State to think
it's
about.
It's all business at this point, though, right? So
100%.
At that point, remember, it went from the Southern Conference to the ACC, and it was all business then. So
yeah.
No, okay. Infinite Hate question here. They only need 8 schools to agree to leave and dissolve the ACC, and then they don't have to pay the exit penalty fee, right?
I don't know all the ins and outs.
I don't know enough about it, but.
I would say that there's no way that basically just loophole is if 8 teams agree to it, then you don't have to pay millions of dollars to get out of the grant of rights.
Yeah, I think that would have happened by now.
Yeah. So I would say that it's basically, I think there's got to be something involved that if you have a majority of the teams in the ACC agreeing that this move needs to happen, then that's definitely got to affect something somewhere. Now, in terms of where in the contract, not sure, but I guarantee you that if any team decides to leave, they would have to open up the checkbooks, no doubt about it.
Yeah.
So absolutely.
I could see. I'm trying to look at some schools in the Big 12. I could see Oklahoma State. I could see Kansas State. Maybe, but those are not great. Oklahoma State's okay, but
they're great with football. But
to be fair, that's probably the way people view NC State. I would say Oklahoma State, NC State are pretty similar in the branding department.
100%.
Like,
Well,
it's
again,
respectable, solid, but is it like from a money generating standpoint, like a Florida State or a Michigan? I'm just throwing out some other schools, random schools.
Yeah, no, us and Oklahoma State I think are exactly aligned.
Tennessee,
I mean, again, Oklahoma is looked at as the blue blood. UNC is looked at as the blue blood, but then Oklahoma State's always playing underneath Oklahoma's shadow. Same thing with us. We're both trying to work out of it. So it'd be interesting, but it's all speculation right now. All right, y'all. So we need to jump on over here to some basketball here, baby, which I know Macon's going to be thrilled about this next one. Michael O'Connell, Senior, Stanford guard transfer, has officially committed, and I think finally, if I'm not mistaken, if I was a betting man, I would say, because the transfer portal is closed now, right?
Yeah, for people to enter.
You can't leave the transfer portal, so if you're out there, you're out there.
So I would say, as much as I love this, I love to hear that more, because I'm glad that LJ didn't leave. To me, I would say that's a big one that I don't think has even been mentioned anywhere on social media, is that the LJ Thomas is still here. Because I know all of us, even Macon has said multiple times how, I mean, LJ is super underrated. But I know this tweet here is about Michael here. But I mean,
I feel like LJ is Layton's guy, right? Like he just.
Well, hey, you were the one that said multiple times that he's underrated.
I do think he's underrated, but I mean, I don't know where we're going with that conversation, but yeah.
Well, just saying how I think that if this is truly like the final piece to the roster for next season, that you got to feel great about not only just finally getting that true senior point guard that is a distributor, that is a leader, that has played in some big games, but also too, you also have now surrounded around him a ton of talent, a ton of guys. Like I get it's crazy to look at it, and I know I'll actually go back here and show the scholarship tracker here as well, which was provided by NCSU Scholarship Tracker. But it's awesome to see all these names passed up and down. Now, I know the only thing which we're still waiting on is the news of what happens with Casey Morcell, which I'm assuming we should hear that probably within the next couple of weeks, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yeah, he's probably coming back. I don't think the same thing we're about there, but that's just me. So I agree. Just a guess. I mean, I don't know.
I think you don't have, that explosive guy. I mean, I guess you could consider DJ Burns an explosive guy, but like a Tre'Quavion Smith, you don't have that type of upside, I don't think. I mean, possibly MJ Rice. But
I think MJ Rice is the biggest name on here.
Yeah. But you definitely have more depth at every position than you did last year. Mm-hmm. I mean, last year you had it was Jarkel, Tre'Quavion, and Casey Morcell, and those were your three guards, and they played 35 minutes a game each. This year, I think it's going to be a little more even between Jaden Taylor, Michael O'Connell, Casey, and DJ Horn. Mm-hmm. And then you still got the wild card of the freshmen coming in. I mean, both Parkers have been pretty
amazing,
pretty hyped up. So
I think they get forgot about in this whole equation, because
absolutely
Dennis Parker and Tremaine Parker were 4-star guys. If one of them pops, I mean, you got at least a solid depth piece there. I mean, he's going to earn playing time. I'm more thinking that Dennis Parker will be that guy if it happens, but I'm excited about it.
Well, especially since we're very guard heavy, I feel like this year, this upcoming season. So I think that there's opportunity more for Dennis. But but again, it's just awesome to see, that I feel like that 2 seasons in a row, Keats has done what he needed to do during the off season. Last year, he kept Big T, brought in Jarkel and DJ. He did an overhaul of the assistant coaching staff, and then this year he came through with bringing in some big guys that have really high ceilings that obviously want to come to NC State. And again, I think he's built a really exciting roster that will be very interesting to see what happens in terms of a rotation for sure. Like who the starting lineup is. I couldn't even. Michael,
here's my guess. The starting.
Go for it.
I actually think the point guard position is going to be a battle in my opinion. I don't think it's a foregone conclusion that DJ Horn is the starter.
No.
I mean, Michael O'Connell was a starter his whole time, pretty much at Stanford. So Power 5 school. I don't necessarily think that's the case for DJ Horn, but if do you know DJ, Burns and Morcell would start. I think your 4 is Rice. I think your 2 is Jaden Taylor, and then I think your 1, actually, in my opinion, is the choice. I think it's going to go to DJ Horn because his ability to score, but I think whoever the other point guard is your 6th man. To be honest, that's where I probably put it. So,
because who do you put as 3? You didn't say who your 3 guess was.
No, Casey's the 3. Casey's the 3.
Yeah.
So it'd be Horn, Taylor, Morcell, Rice, Burns.
Got it.
Yeah, and I think the alternate point guard is your 6th man.
That's kind of how I see it. Like, you're gonna have a true 6th man who will play a lot of minutes. Like last year, I mean, we didn't. Who was there a 6th man? I mean, LJ
last year
a little bit.
We had
Jack Clark.
No, he started.
Jack Clark was starting when he was healthy. It would if Doosan was healthy. Yeah, Doosan.
That's true. That's
actually, probably would have been DJ Burns.
Doosan was starting early on the season.
So that is
basically there wasn't an established one. No, there wasn't an established 6 man. No.
Yeah. Yeah. But I think fingers crossed, everybody stays healthy. You'll have a real 6th man.
I think the biggest takeaway from this offseason, the biggest plus is your depth, your bench has gotten much better, in my opinion.
Crazy.
I think the drop off is elite level scoring on an individual level.
Yeah.
And you're not going to have, I don't think you're going to have, I mean, I guess you could, but it's not likely you're going to see a guy scoring 25, 30, 35 points a night from this roster, unless it's DJ Burns. I mean, that I can foresee. But maybe you have a combine of DJ Horn, Jaden Taylor, you mix in there with some MJ Rice. You have some guys who can kind of make up the difference on the scoring. So, I mean, think about it. You got Doosan coming back, and you got Ben Middlebrooks coming back. That's you're deep at the 5, and then Diarra now with Rice and
you said Doosan, you mean DJ, but sorry, go ahead.
But Doosan's coming back though, right? I mean,
he's in a transfer.
Yeah, he's in the portal.
Oh, duh, that's right.
That's why I'm like sitting here
oh my god, I was thinking about him saying he was okay. That was stupid. I was thinking about him saying that. So even still, Burns and Middlebrooks, even if you have to go back to that, that's solid. Then you got Ross there at the 4 with Diarra and Rice. If Ross is your 3rd 4, that's a good thing.
I like that. Yeah, he's played a lot for his first 2 years. So
it'll be interesting. I think it's going to be a really fun. I wonder if Dennis Parker is your backup 3 to Casey. But who knows? I have no idea how they're going to play that.
It's fun. It's exciting to think about. Like, I know that, Michelle said it best here. Looking forward to seeing the town on the basketball team next season. I mean, it should be fun for sure. It's gonna be fun to see.
I think it's gonna be very interesting to see. Like you said, fun to see. Okay, how is this going to work out? I mean, like, see how they're going to mix up the roster rotation, and it's going to be really interesting to me. The first, 10 games or so, how this is going to look.
I mean,
go ahead, Michael.
To that comment, I feel like DJ Burns, he's your go-to guy.
Well, they got a guy like DJ Horn, right? They can go. He's a good catch and shoot 3-point shooter, and DJ's an excellent passer. So,
So for those listening, we had a comment here saying the only problem I feel we are lacking is that go-to guy like we had with T and Joyner last year. We look good on paper, but who knows how it pans out? We have a lot of unproven but high upside transfers. But I would also say it's a mix between senior transfers and young transfers.
Well, I don't know. Yeah, that's good. You need some leadership. You need some veteran.
Exactly.
That's a word there. But what I do think, to Salute 35's comment, you may have a better overall team next year. I don't know that's necessarily the case. I think it's going to be more balanced in my opinion. I think you're going to see I think you're going to see that. I think you're going to see defenses try to take DJ out of games. And that's where I think DJ being able to pass the ball to a guy like a DJ Horn or Jaden Taylor who can score, or a Casey, if he has options on the corners and on, or on the perimeter, then that's a really good thing for State, in my opinion.
Like DJ, you were talking about DJ Horn. He's a career 38% 3-point shooter. Like he's played college basketball for 4 years over his whole career. Like that's pretty good.
Pretty darn good. Yeah.
We haven't really talked about Michael though. What do you guys think about him as a player, getting him?
Yeah, let us know in the comments what y'all think about Michael. But real quick, one question: the question about MJ being at the 4, even though he's only 6'5". I would say that kind of lends to how Keats has typically run his offense. But I mean, I would say that you still have Diarra and Middlebrooks to put in there if you need to go more of a big lineup.
Options, right? Yeah.
But I think you look back at Keats' offenses, like look at Jack Clark. He wasn't 7 foot.
Yeah. And Torn Dorn played the 4, and he was one of the best
6'5"
guys.
6'5".
He was 6'5". It depends on your approach. I mean, if you're a willing rebounder and you're athletic enough, which MJ Rice definitely is, his athleticism is off the charts, then you'll be fine in the rebound.
Jericho Helms was your 4 at one point, and he was 6'7", so a couple inches taller. But I think State likes doing that. Keats likes that kind of guard / forward option there at the 4. So,
but now between Diarra, Middlebrooks, and DJ, you have the size that if you need to go bigger, like against let's say UNC, then you have that if you need to. So it's good to have that you're not relying on it like you did with our big that got injured and went to Georgetown. I'm blanking on his name right now, but when you relied on him. And then he got injured the first 5 minutes of the first game, and it's like
only thing I can think of that went to Georgetown was Amir Yurtseven.
No,
Manny Bates.
Yeah, Butler. Yeah, Manny Bates was Butler. Yeah, the other blue. Picky out school anyway. So let's talk about Michael O'Connell. So I mean, to me, I know we kind of mentioned it, at least for me, a little bit about him, but to me, because I know that we have said multiple times, how I feel like that what this team needs is that true point guard. And I think that's what he gives you. I think he's a guy that could distribute the ball. Again, in one game last year, he had 12 assists, which tied a franchise record for Stanford. But he's also a guy that at one point scored 22 points. He's a 78% free throw shooter in his career. So to me, he's just an all-around guy, but he's also a senior. So, he's a guy that you can rely to have the ball in his hands and get the ball to where it needs to be. That's just my 2 cents on it.
Yeah, that's fair.
I think I like any veteran guy, any senior point guard you can bring in at a Power 5 level. I mean,
well, what I see with him that I don't see with DJ Horn, right? Because that's the other option at point guard. I do see a guy who is more comfortable with the ball in his hands, and I see a guy who's able to make plays for others. See, DJ Horn, when I watch him play, is a guy who lets the game. He comes across like he's almost like a shooting guard, if you will, but that he can play the one.
Yeah,
that's why I view DJ Horn. So he is a point guard. He can do that, but he's more like a combo guard.
Yeah.
Whereas Michael looks like a true point guard, like he is, and I said true point guard, but he's like a pass first kind of guy. His numbers don't really wow you from a scoring standpoint. But let's say he is your 6th guy. I don't think State needs, if he's your 6th man, I don't think State needs him to be a scoring, like a big time scorer for them, right? I mean, if he's your 6th man or whatever he did, even if he's your point guard and he's your 5th option scoring on offense, that's okay. He needs to be able to just create for others. And I think it's going to be good for having guys like the shooters, like the KC Morcells and the MJ Rice and others worlds who can. If they can become an outside shooter, I know we know Casey is, but say MJ hitting a post, and Michael coming around that, MJ setting the screen, Michael coming around that and kicking it out to MJ for a shot, or maybe kick out another pass there to Jaden Taylor, LJ Thomas, those kind of guys. I think it's a good thing. And I don't see that kind of player on State's roster right now that has shown that a lot and shown that well in their college film. I feel like that was almost like a missing piece for this team that gives State some more flexibility offensively. So,
yeah. Well, especially I think that, 2 years ago, it definitely was the case. But definitely, I think even last year too, there was still a little bit of a case of needing guys to get going in order to win. Like, I still feel like there was a little bit more pressure on guys, specifically DJ Burns, Jarkel, and Big T, for one of those guys to get going in order for us to really have a legitimate chance to win some of the bigger games, which I think for this year, since you have so many guys, hopefully we could start to really work away from that of being so reliant on even a couple of guys in order to be able to beat at Duke or, beat UNC at UNC. It's games like that, big games where it's like you have to have one of these guys to get going in order to get there. So, but anyway, we're excited for it to happen and looking forward to it. And especially with DJ losing, I've heard 25, 30 pounds. It's going to be I think that's going to help him out a lot too.
And I would say to that, I think State's roster is done. I think this is the team we're going to roll with, guys. So, scholarships are full now, right? So, for those you want to keep watching, go back, look at the depth chart, the rosters, have fun talking about it. Let us know what you think about what you think the roster is going to look like, any concerns you have. I still have a little bit of a concern. Okay, like because neither one of those point guards are a great creator, passer, and scorer.
Sure.
And they have strengths on one side. Like Jarkel was more of a scorer than he was a passer, but I thought Jarkel was a pretty good passer. And maybe DJ can do that, but I view Michael O'Connell as more of a passer than I do a scorer. And I would like to feel more comfortable having like a more dominant player at the one, because that's your point guard, your quarterback of your offense. But I think State can make it work. I think the other areas I get concerned about too is, I think I'm still a little concerned at the 4 spot. I mean, we're just assuming MJ Rice is going to be a big time scorer for State. He very well may, but if it's not that, you have Diarra, who. I don't know what we're going to get with him offensively. I mean, I think he can't score, but I don't know. I can't say he's a stud offensively, and we all know he got with Ross. So it could be a mixed bag at the 4 spot. I think the 1 and the 4 spot I'm most concerned with, I guess, is the way I would put it.
Yeah. So just for sake of time, we do need to move on from this, but definitely, let's see how this roster goes, and it'll be a lot of fun to see, how the rotation reports, come out of, as practices and camps get rolling. So the other big piece of news that happened this week was the announcement of NC State football at UConn being moved up 2 days to Thursday night. So it was official for one of the first times in a long time that state football starts in August. Like, we can actually say that NC State football will come in August. So to me, it's kind of like all right, sounds cool to me. Like, I'm not going to argue with it. 2 days earlier, and it's on a CBS Sports Network, when probably if it was on Saturday, it probably would have been borderline, maybe not even on TV, borderline. Depending on how things worked out. But I know there's a lot of big games that first weekend, so especially competing on Saturday would have been tough. But excited for it. Excited to see some state baseball happen 2 days earlier. Looking forward to it. And also too, I think giving us those extra 2 days to prepare for Notre Dame the next week is going to be huge as well. Not necessarily saying we're looking past UConn, but we should take care of UConn. We should, especially since we're doing literally from the end of spring ball to August 31st is thinking about UConn. I would assume that we should be able to take care of business, but fingers crossed on that. Michael, make anything to add on that?
No, I am, like you said, 2 days earlier. Great. That's awesome.
Yep. Looking forward to it.
Yeah.
So, and then the other one as well, with NC State women's tennis getting to our 3rd straight Elite Eight, and we'll be facing number 12 Iowa State on Wednesday, May 17th. So 2 days from now, at 7:30 p.m. in Orlando, Florida, at the USTA National Campus. So again, super excited to see what this women's program does. to me, it's still business as usual. Nothing really more to talk about other than the sky's the limit. Go get it done.
So they've had 6 postseason matches between the ACC tournament and the NCAA tournament, and they've lost 1 team point in 6 matches, and that was against number 1 UNC. And every other match they've won 4-0, 4-0, 4-0, 4-0.
Wow.
Yeah, I thought that too. I've noticed a lot of their scores being 4-0. They're rolling right now, and I think it's awesome, the program. I think it's going to help the men's program with their success, getting more attention and all that. But this is really cool to me. So I think it's great for the women's tennis team. I thought it was also really sweet seeing the turnout they had at their last meet. So you can tell the fans are starting to gravitate and give them the respect they deserve watching them. So it's good.
Yep. So the other thing, that's what I wanted to get to. Let me make sure I don't miss it. I want to talk a little bit here about a specific tweet that had my blood boiling, because I know that every single live stream so far, without fail, I have brought up Doran in one shape or another, and I think all of my thoughts kind of came to see, this is what I'm talking about. When Saturday Road put out a rankings of the top ACC football coaches in their eyes, and again, Saturday Road's, just a Twitter account, and they had Doran at 7th, which I basically quote tweeted it and was like, 7th? That is blasphemous, in my eyes. And of course, there was actually a lot of people that commented on it saying that that's where they honestly think that he belongs. And so I basically spent some of my time today. Go ahead.
Who were the other 6? Can I guess?
Sure, go for it.
Can I guess? Okay. So Dabo's one of them. What's the coach at Wake Forest? His name? He's on there.
Clawson's
on there. Hold on, he's on there. I can't remember his name. Clawson's on there. I'm trying to go with some sure ones. I'm pretty sure on there. Man, I'm going to guess Norvell's on there after one good season. At one good season, he's an amazing coach. And he's on there. You've got I'm going to guess Mac Brown's on there.
Yep.
Where's he at?
6.
6?
He's only one.
He's a better coach than Dave Doran. Okay. Look, that's ridiculous. Is Prohl on there at Louisville?
Mm-mm. Brom, whatever. Yeah. Nope.
And okay, so they don't have Dino Vapors on there.
Heck no.
They don't have the coach at Boston College on there, do they?
Heck no. He's bored. No. He's on the hot seat.
Georgia Tech, don't know who that coach's name is right now. So I'm going to guess that this is going to make me mad. It's not Pry on there.
No.
And it's not Elliott from. So are you telling me Miami's Cristobal's on there too?
Yes, at number 4, and Narduzzi at 5.
Oh, Narduzzi. Okay,
Narduzzi. That's disrespectful to Narduzzi too.
I can get Narduzzi. So I would say Dabo.
Well, okay, Brown, here, make it.
Mac Brown. Give me.
Let me. So basically, what I was saying was today I spent about an hour and decided, okay, what do I think my list is? Because basically, a lot of people were saying take those red lenses off and tell me and where does Doran belong? And so let me tell you where I think Doran belongs. So we'll start off here. Here's my list of current ACC head coach rankings. This is not what has ACC coach done over his tenure. This is right now. If I started North Carolina State Institute of Technology, I wanted to coach from the ACC, who would I want to be running my program right now? So starting off with number 14 here, no shocker here, Ben Pry from Virginia Tech. Obviously in his first.
These are your rankings, Layton,
this is my rankings. My rankings. Okay. So
therefore, it's legit.
Exactly. No, I did some research. I did some thoughts on it. All right. So starting
off,
I
guess number 1 is Dave Doran.
No, took the red lenses off. No. So Brent Pry from Virginia Tech, obviously first year being a head coach after being the defense coordinator at Penn State, taking over, went 3-8 his first year. But even Macon's mentioned multiple times that it's obviously taking a huge overhaul and rebuild of Virginia Tech program. And I know that they recently just signed 33 new players, 27 prospects, and 6 transfers. So hopefully this upcoming season things improve. But for right now, he's got to be 14. Simple as that. 13,
Wait,
Tony Elliott.
Who's the Georgia Tech coach?
I'll get there. Don't you worry. I'll get there.
Oh, wow. He hasn't even coached a game, and he's already better than these two. That's interesting.
Well, let me explain. Let me explain.
Wow.
All right, let me get there, and I'll explain. All right.
You don't have to. This is already bogus.
All right, number 13, Tony Elliott. All right. Now, Tony Elliott, the reason why I don't have him last, because I would say that it went from decent at Virginia to pretty bad, is obviously all of the issues that came up during the season, which were tough to look by, and obviously got to give a huge hats off to Tony Elliott for being a leader as he was, to really help get the guys through a supremely tough situation. So the leadership he showed was great to see, and again, still a very young coach, offensive coordinator at Clemson. So definitely think that there's brighter days ahead for sure for UVA, but for right now, got to keep it at 13. Number 12 is this Jeff Hafley. So Boston College, which obviously with Jeff Hafley, came out, first year, just guns a-blazing, just was taking the whole EC by storm. But then ever since then, he went 3-9 last year, ranked number 122nd in the country in yards per play on offense. His defense was ranked 5th, which, over the years, with Steve Adazio, defense was like the rock for Boston College. So I just feel like that right now, if you're at Boston College, you're saying, Steve Adazio, at least we got 8 wins every single year. But with Jeff Hafley, we've gotten 3 wins 2 years in a row. So definitely, I think Jeff Hafley definitely needs a big year this year. So are we all in agreement so far? Let me know in the comments too.
I don't know if I can agree just yet. Okay. We're gonna have to keep going and see what happens.
All right, cool. So this is where I have Brent Key with Georgia Tech.
Gosh,
what are you thinking? No. So here's my thing. All right, Brent Key. I just got to remind you guys.
Who hasn't coached one game at Georgia Tech yet? Just to remind everybody, right?
No, he was the interim coach last year. He took over for Jeff Collins.
Yeah, he did win a couple games last year.
Yeah. So check your facts and then get back to me, Macon. Okay. No, well, and again, because especially with Georgia Tech, I mean, the fact that when you saw the announcement from when you saw the video of the players reacting to Brent Key getting announced as a head coach and seeing like the overwhelming, like, yes, like this is the guy we wanted. To do that within your, only coaching this guy this team for 8 games, that says a lot, man. He got that team to buy in quick, and he got to pull off some pretty big wins. Obviously, beating UNC at UNC, was a huge win for them, and definitely unexpected to say the least. So, and again, he's done a great job so far. I know, right?
He's such a great coach.
So yeah, I would just say the only reason why I put Brent Key above these other guys is I feel like that. Again, Brent Key recently has had some success that I feel like he can build off of very quickly right now. But again, these 4 guys, you could argue, a scramble. I wouldn't necessarily disagree with that. This and then Dino Babers, as much as it pains me because I love Dino Babers, man. He's a great guy. He's had some big wins over the years. One of the few teams to actually beat Clemson in the ACC. And obviously came out, had his one big year, 10-win season back in 2018. But ever since then, and even before that, just hasn't really been able to do too much. Which I do got to give him a little bit of again, just kind of go to it that Syracuse has been ranked in the top 10 of the most difficult Power 5 jobs in the country, just because of the expectations, but also just with you just don't have a lot of recruiting, ability there. Just not a lot of pull. Again, you're playing in a place which is more famous for the basketball playing there than football. The New York area, not a lot of fan support for football. So yeah. So, but again, pains me because I love Dino for sure. So, and then Jeff Rom from for Louisville came from Purdue, was 36-34 at Purdue last year, won the Big Ten West, which I think cannot be overlooked, and especially he's had 3 top 5 upsets on his resume. in the last 2 seasons, and also has back-to-back winning seasons in his last 2 years at Purdue, which is the first time that's ever happened in 25 years at Purdue. So, I mean, I think that what he did at Purdue is very impressive for sure, but obviously 36-34 doesn't really scream really high tier. So that's kind of why I have him kind of middle tier here. So then to finish off my first 7 here, this is where I have Mario Cristobal. I'm like, okay, well, let's pump the brakes here on Mario Cristobal, Mr. 4 on Saturday Road. Mario Cristobal, again, for just as those who reminder, so he started off at FIU, went to Oregon, and then came home to Miami. And obviously last year's Miami season was just a catastrophe, to say the least. Just the absolute just cluster fire. I mean, just bad. And then Oregon, even though he actually went 35-13, but with the amount of talent that he had on the roster, there was a lot of big opportunities that in terms of to winning some big games, winning Pac-12 titles that he just didn't take advantage of. And then, what he did at FIU, which, he didn't, nothing really much to say the least until Lane Kiffin came in. So just to me, it's just like, okay, he's a big name and he's getting paid a lot of money. And he's also, yes, he's a great recruiter, but he hasn't done anything with it, so before I jump to number 7, Michael, making anything scream out so far about these first 7?
No,
I think that's fair. I would flip your Cristobal and Braum.
Yeah.
I'd have Braum higher.
Yeah, which is crazy to think about, but I mean, I agree. But to me, it's just like Mario Cristobal with the fact that he did go 35-13 Oregon, and also the fact that he is a crazy recruiter and he has $100 million contract.
I think you're a little too hard on Jeff Hafley too, a little bit. I think he could be a little higher, but because his Jerkovic was out most of the season, his starting quarterback was out, so I don't know that's a ton fair there. I wonder if he was healthy and with him and Zay Flowers and all that would have been a little bit different. But I'm trying to guess who you have 1 through 7 right now. Okay. So I'm gonna guess. I'm going to guess your next coach.
I think the next one's Mac Brown.
I think it's Mac Brown too.
Mike Elko with Duke.
He was going to be 6 to me. I thought he was going to be 6 or 5. So okay.
Mike Elko with Duke. So Mike Elko, to me, I feel like that being a first-time head coach after his first-year head coach being 7, that's pretty daggone impressive, especially over these names that you see here on the right side. But I mean, I think that what he did his first year at Duke is cannot be overlooked. Going 9-4 in his first year at Duke, had a great offense, but also too, he also had he was actually he took over a defense that was last in the ACC in 2021, and they were 5th in 2022. So I mean, to me right now, it's like, man, like what the job that Mike Elko did on the offensive and defensive side of the ball is nothing short of impressive, and took UNC to the brim. Like UNC had to pull out a miracle to beat Duke. And so to me, I'm sitting here thinking, man, if Duke could have pulled off that win against UNC and gone 10-3 in his first year with a win over UNC, a Drake May UNC, dude, sky's the limit. So Mike Elko's a man. So I think that you and Michael and Macon would think that Mac Brown will be at 6. Am I correct?
Well, yeah.
Okay. So who's left? Dave Dorn, Mac Brown. It's not Clausen, and it's not Davo, and it's not Norvell. And it's whoever the other guys. I'm blanking on who the other coach is.
Well, let's find out. Mike Norvell, FSU. I put him here at 6, and I think that honestly this is fair. I understand the last year
you made the list.
Well, but let me explain. Obviously going 10-3 last year, which overall of a solid season for sure. But in finishing 10th nationally, which definitely is a huge step up. But I feel like that he obviously has a lot of benefits that a lot of schools and a lot of coaches would die for. Obviously having that FSU brand, the FSU money. Again, FSU athletics spends more money. I think it's like one of the top 5 programs in terms of spending towards the football program in the country. I mean, they have so much money coming through. It's ridiculous. And again, also too, being in Florida, I mean, it's just like, just walk out the door and you have 5 stars all around you. You know, to me, it's an easy place to be. And I think that if you have a good coach, then you'll be successful there just because of everything that there is around it. The history with the Heisman Trophy winners, Deion Sanders, Bobby Bowden, you name it. So to me, it's like, okay, now he has a great team. Now, after this season, if he rises up to the expectations that is on him this season, then top 5 easily, top 4 or 3 easily. If he rises up to the expectations that this team has this year, but that'll be remain.
Now, there's a school I'm blanking on. I'm not. Florida. You got Florida State now. Miami State, UNC, Clemson.
In terms of what?
Who's left on the list? Right. Yeah.
You know, Mario Cristobal was already up there. No, it's Pat Narduzzi's left. Dave Clawson.
Pitt.
Doran.
Pitt. You got Mac Brown next.
Yeah. So yeah, Mac Brown at 5. So again, to me, this is just, unfortunately, again, all he's done is one offseason so far. Let's be real. He's done an amazing job recruiting, obviously getting guys like Sam Howell, getting Drake May in the door, which has been huge for him. I think if he didn't have those 2 guys, who knows where he'd be. And I mean, just those 2 guys have really carried his teams over the last few years. And because just let's be real, again, he's had some really bad losses. He lost to Georgia Tech. He shouldn't have lost that game. He lost to NC State with a 3rd-string quarterback. He shouldn't have lost that game. Obviously, again, the doors beat off him by Clemson saying, "Oh, we didn't know that Cade Klubnik was going to play." And then, you know, again, with the complaining about, oh, we have to play Duke and NC State and Clemson. So it just, to me, there's just not obviously a lot of confidence there, but it's tough to put a guy much lower than 5 who's won a national championship. So
yeah. So can I guess? I'm going to guess along the way so I can get this right.
Okay.
Next, you have Dave Doran.
Okay.
Is that right?
Just give me your 4 and I'll
okay.
Yeah.
So I have, I think he has 3 or 4 is Narduzzi and Doran. I can't figure. I think you put Doran at 4 because Narduzzi has played an ACC championship game.
Okay.
And I think you've got Dabo and Claus. Dabo at 1, Clausen at 2. That's what I think.
Michael, any differences there?
I'm torn on 3 or 4.
Dabo 1. Trying to think inside Leighton's head. Dabo.
Clausen has owned State, and he's done so much with so little. But Dave Doran's done the same thing. Name one team who's done better with 3-star talent and developing them better than Dave Doran.
I'm going to go Dabo 1 because this is how I would do it. Dabo 1, Narduzzi 2, Doran 3, Clausen 4.
Wow.
That's a hot take. That was not me. Heck no. Doran at 4, Pat Narduzzi at 3, Clausen at 2, and Dabo at 1. So yes, Mike Macon was correct. And then Mike was coming in with a hot take. Clausen.
I would have Dabo.
I'd have Clausen from 2 to 4.
I'd have Pat Narduzzi at 1, Clausen at 3, Doran at 2,
Dabo
at 4. Yeah.
I just moved Clausen from 2 to 4. That's all.
But so let's be real again. Dave Clawson, we've even said it. Like, he is without a doubt one, if not the most underrated coach in all of college football. And to me, it's not even a conversation. I mean, consistently producing winning teams at a place where it's difficult to rack up victories because there's just no support. Wake Forest doesn't care. They don't care. So
but I also think that gives him a little too much because, I mean, Wake Forest had finished with a better than 500 record in the ACC once, and it was the year they went to the ACC championship. Every other year they've been 4-4 or worse.
True, but also again, he's been to 7 straight bowl games under Clawson, with 4 seasons with at least 8 wins. He went 11-3 in 2021, the program's best finish ever. And also too, while on top of that, I mean, he's been able to put, John Walford. He's played some NFL games with the Rams, and Sam Hartman, who, I mean,
he'll probably,
but I mean, he's definitely going to be on an NFL, camp. He's definitely going to be invited at least to NFL camp, but not get drafted. So yeah, but
I just have a hard time putting Narduzzi under Clausen when Narduzzi beat him in the ACC championship game.
Well, because of the fact that Clausen, I think, has had consistent success. Pat Narduzzi has had his championship for sure. But let's be real. Hey, one fake slide away, and maybe it would have been different. No, but yeah, I'll say that again. With Clausen, it's just that he's consistently been successful for a long time at a school that doesn't give him any kind of funding that he deserves to get. With Narduzzi, I think that with Narduzzi, you definitely have the NFL recruiting pitch, also too with playing at Heinz Field, having Aaron Donald, Larry Fitzgerald, you name it. Clausen, you don't really have that. Clausen, you have a mid-tier, lower end field with no real NFL guys to really recruit on, but yet he's still able to get the guys in that he does. I mean, so that was really kind of the big thing for me. But yeah,
can I ask a question? Can I ask a question here?
Yeah, please.
We got to wrap up the show.
Yeah.
Who do you think? Okay, so I guess first off, where do you? To me, my thought is, I think the guy you have below out of the left column you have there, your top 7. I think that's pretty good, pretty fair, I would say. Okay. Maybe the 5, 6, 7, I would kind of maybe change it up slightly, but I don't know how I would do that. Yeah. I was thinking more of, okay, let's say this time next year, who do you think's a riser and a faller? And I kind of think you might see Dave Doran drop a spot. Maybe, maybe not. I still think 4 is fair. But I think you're going to see Norvell and Elko and Brom, maybe Brom, go up.
I think Norvell, Elko, and Cristobal have the highest ceilings to jump.
But you know what? Yeah. They have like some of the best quarterbacks next season and one of the best teams next year. So it's like,
true.
I'd be curious to see who does the most with the least. And I mean, Dave Doran had an 8-win season, almost 9-win season with 4 different quarterbacks last year. I mean, I don't know. It's hard for me to move him down, but if I think it's pretty good, Leighton.
Thank you. Yeah, no, I mean, for me, it was for Narduzzi versus Doran. It was really neck and neck, but the only thing was that I just couldn't put Doran above.
You're going to get, if you post this, you're going to get ripped up for Norvell being 6 because people think Norvell's super great right now. So
I know, right? I know, but that's okay. I'll take it. So anyway, y'all, so let us know in the comments who you think, who you think you would have had higher on this list, who you think you would have had lower. We'd be very curious to see what everybody thinks about this list. But thank you all so much again for joining in. We really do appreciate y'all joining us always, every single Monday night, 8 p.m. Make sure to stay tuned as we got some exciting episodes coming up this week. Won't spoil them, but make sure to stay tuned. And if you enjoyed this live show, make sure to hit that like button and give us a follow. Tuffy Talk now on Twitter, Instagram. But with that being said, thank you all so much for joining us. We'll see y'all soon, and go Pack, y'all.